it felt like a weird dating game because you're speaking with multiple potential advisors all at the same time and they all know about each other, but you're trying to play the long con. It's like, oh, of course I want to go to all these schools. Please take me, because you don't know who's going to take you.
Okay, so I did the thing you're not supposed to do. I applied to one grad school, which I found out later was like, people don't usually do that. They apply to like 10 or something, which I don't know how they do that because they do charge you money. But in order to find labs, what I did was I just like Googled places I want to live. Like I knew I wanted to live somewhere where it was like warm. So I was like, okay, what is like California? I looked up like every school in California and went through every single profile of every single professor until I found one that was like, I want to do what this lady's doing. And then I emailed her and the rest was history.
I kind of applied to everything, I guess, because I applied to vet school and I also applied to like a master's program, and this was actually my only PhD program that I applied to. And I went about it by, at least for the research programs, by trying to like find a faculty member who does research at least in animal physiology or animal ecology or something. And then I like reached out to a few different people at each university, and would like hopefully talk to them too. And yeah, that's basically how I went about looking for different departments and people I wanted to work for.
I had a really good mentor telling me what to do. So then the first thing I did, it was really tedious. I went through the entire professor list in SICB and then who was interested in movement and what type of movement. There's like group animal movement, there's single animal movement, there's like cell movement. So then I found all the professors that had to do with movement, and I think about what type of movement do I want to, or can I study and for like 5 years or so. I went through that and then I picked, I think, 14 professors. And then I Skype interviewed all of them. And then from the 14, I chose 7. And then I applied to 7 grad schools. And then I interviewed at 7 grad schools.
So I knew that I wanted to go to UC, so I went through all of the UC schools, and I looked at their ecology departments, their marine ecology departments, and I searched through each professor, and I read their research or a short synopsis. Then if I was even more interested, I read the abstracts of their paper, and then I emailed them. And after I emailed them, not all responded, but some did. And then we started having a conversation. We set up a Zoom call. And then if they liked me and if I liked them, whatever professor helped me with my application. And then I got an in-person interview. And that was the most, I guess, nerve-wracking part, is the in-person interview. So behind a screen of like just cold emailing people, you have so much time to prepare, and you have the most time in the world. But when you're in front with a person and they ask you a question, and even if it's like, what is your name, you have to like think about it, I guess. And sometimes I just freeze. And on top of that, for the interview process, at UCI, you have to interview with multiple people. And so that's really draining, just mentally, to at least try to be your best and like multiple times throughout the day.
It was not what I was expecting. I was really nervous because I came in and I was thinking like, I'm not a very formal person. Like I wore my hiking boots because they were like the fanciest shoes I had. And when I got there, like other people were wearing hiking boots and I was like, okay, cool. But the interview process, I was assuming I was gonna get like grilled on like, why should we let you in here? Like, who are you? What business do you have doing here? And it was like totally the opposite. All of the professors here were asking like, what do you think like you would benefit from here? Like, what could we tell you that would make you want to come here? And I was like, I already want to. You don't have to tell me anything.
One of the most stressful things I've ever done. So coming out of undergrad, I had a phone interview at Penn State and an in-person interview at Arizona State. I felt there was no, going from undergrad's perspective, I had no way to prepare for these interviews. I did mock interviews in in my lab meetings in the SORAS lab, but besides that, I was going in I have no idea what I'm gonna say, what they're gonna ask me. I tried to research the professors and what they studied, but I researched too much on what they studied, so I was just regurgitating their own research, which it's kind of boring because they know their own research. Yeah, you're supposed to know a little bit what they do, but you shouldn't have to know in detail every single paper they've ever published. But when I interviewed for UCI, I first interviewed with J.J. Emerson, the summer before I applied, and it was a great conversation. I guess over my time at Cal State Fulton, I became a smooth conversationalist. Do teaching, presenting at conferences, or just interacting with professors in general. So there was no fear coming in because I've been talking to professors for 4 years now. I've presented at conferences in front of dozens of people. So it's just a one-on-one conversation. It's not that big of a deal. And it was a very smooth conversation. And then I talked to Donovan a couple of weeks after that, and the same deal. It was a smooth conversation, and it was great. It didn't even feel like it was I was interviewing to apply to their lab. It was just we're just talking about random facts of life, or our journeys about how we got to where we are.
Interviewing is a two-way process. Can you vibe with that person? It's also can you work with that professor? It's not only oh, please professor, let me in. It's can you talk to that person? Does that person seem like an ethical person to you? Because that person's going to control your money, your work life. They have a lot of power over you. And the interview process is pretty intense, where you stay 3 days and 2 nights usually, and you probably fly elsewhere. And you do type of a round robin interview with, I don't know, 4 or 5 professors back to back, and 30 minutes each. And then you have to talk to the other grad students to see if it's a place that you blend into.
The hardest part is asking questions, because first and foremost, you're not just being interviewed, you're also interviewing, and that is a really important part of the process. But it's intimidating and kind of scary to ask, bigwig professors or grad students you don't know questions. That was really hard for me to come up with a list of questions that I could ask. So that's important, to ask lots of questions, and just really kind of suss out your environment, I guess, as well, because it's one thing to go to a university with a really good program, but then hate where you live, or you don't get along necessarily with the people, or you don't have the same interests. And then it's really hard for you to find something outside of your day-to-day work to kind of keep you going, because if you're not motivated to do, the fun stuff, it's really hard to motivate yourself to do science when it gets hard, and it does get hard, so yeah.
I also wasn't super interested in getting into a program just to get into one. That was something that my undergrad advisor had told me, was make sure you find a good home. So if I didn't find that, I wasn't going to go. So I got into all 4 programs, but if I hadn't gotten into LSU or UCI, I probably wouldn't have done it.